That's what I told my general counsel the day the bank flagged the second anomalous transfer. Just 2 lines buried deep in a reconciled ledger. The amounts were small. Deliberate $1,348 and $2,122, both routed to what appeared to be a third-party operations vendor. We don't use third-party vendors, at least not for high-net-worth client accounts. My name is Marcus Vellin. I'm 52. I built Vellin West & Co. from a shared desk in a co-working basement in St. Paul, Minnesota, back when interest rates were 6.5% and startups had to show profit. By year 2, the firm now spans 3 states and manages over $480 million in private capital, and yet, none of that made me immune to betrayal. Her name was Eliza Ward, smart, poised, Columbia MBA, the kind of person who learns fast and pretends. Slowly, she came to us through a recommendation from a retired SEC compliance officer, someone I trusted more than I should have. That's the first thing betrayal teaches you. Trust is often handed to those who know how to wear it. Eliza started in compliance review, low-level, quiet work, cross-checking client portfolios with audit trails and regulatory standards. She was accurate, quick, too quick. In her second year, she asked for more responsibility, said she wanted to move into portfolio risk modeling. I gave her what she asked for. I usually do. It's how you find leaders, and for a while, she proved me right. Her models were efficient, her reporting clean. Clients liked her confidence. I even brought her into a closed-room advisory call with a Fortune 100 heir. That kind of access, it isn't gifted. It's earned over years. She got it in 19 months. Then, in April, a client, one who rarely checked their quarterly statements, called about a minor discrepancy. It was nothing, at first, a few hundred missing, probably a reporting lag. But the internal audit bot flagged a similar pattern 2 months later, again small, again quiet. That's when I stopped trusting the surface. I engaged a private forensic specialist, not our usual compliance firm, a discreet operator named Lynn, former Treasury Department, quiet reputation, bulletproof work. Lynn never asked for context, just raw access. I gave it to her, full logs, login credentials, IP trails, time-stamped ledger backups. 3 weeks later, I got a text. We need to talk. It's Eliza. I was in Denver onboarding a real estate group from Aspen. I flew back the same night. When Lynn showed me the preliminary report, I didn't speak. I just watched the screen. Over 19 months, Elisa had siphoned $76,200 from 7 separate client portfolios, all small, all spaced out, never more than $3,000 at a time, all routed to the same LLC, Mornvale Strategic Solutions, a vendor that didn't exist, not in any legitimate capacity. Who owns it? I asked. Lynn clicked once. Technically, her cousin Bradley Ward, a registered massage therapist with no business license until a year ago. She had created the perfect proxy. Family, but distant enough to dodge suspicion. Non-finance background, clean record. A shell nobody would question. I stared at the flowchart Lynn had mapped. It looked like a subway system. Dozens of red arrows, flowing from Vellin West's client accounts to this ghost firm. She's been doing this right under our noses, I said. Lynn corrected me. No, she's been doing this right under your nose. That landed like a punch, because it was true. I trusted Eliza, not just professionally, personally. She'd been over for dinner. She'd met my wife. She'd even sent a wedding gift when my daughter got married last spring. A watch, Fossil brand. I remember because she asked me later if my son-in-law liked it. The entire time, she was lifting money from clients whose names she spoke in boardrooms with ease. Lynn printed a copy of the full report. It was 87 pages. This is enough to terminate, she said. Maybe even prosecute. But I didn't move quickly, not out of hesitation but preparation. I wanted to control the exit. Quietly, surgically, we called a board meeting, brought in our legal team, compliance lead, one silent HR observer. I asked them one question. What's the cleanest way to fire someone who's about to sue you for doing it? Because I knew Eliza. I knew the kind of confidence she carried. The kind that doesn't flinch when it lies. The kind that already has a lawyer's number saved before you serve the notice. We scheduled the termination for Thursday, 3 p.m. neutral. Room. Lynn would be present, but silent. Just to observe. Eliza walked in exactly on time. Slate gray suit, burgundy folder under one arm, smile rehearsed. She sat without being asked. You wanted to see me, Marcus. I didn't look at her folder. I looked at her eyes. Yes, I said calmly. Your access has been suspended. effective immediately. We've completed an internal review and identified several compliance breaches related to account management under your oversight. She blinked once, slowly. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, I replied. It's a conclusion. Do I get to see the so-called evidence? Our legal team will forward it through formal channels. This is retaliation, she said, almost instantly, like she'd been waiting to use the word. I raised concerns about improper client targeting last quarter. I documented it. You're trying to silence me. There it was, the trap she'd built before we even knew we were the target. Her fallback wasn't confusion. It was offense. Her defense was to flip the script. You're not firing me because I stole, you're firing me because I spoke up, and somewhere a lawyer already had that script typed. My counsel slid a single document toward her termination letter. Signed, dated, with attached compliance notes. You're making a mistake, Eliza said. I said nothing. She stood slowly, smoothed her skirt, looked directly at me. You've built this place on trust, Marcus, but you never really knew who to trust. And then she walked out. By the time Elisa exited the building, her access had already been revoked. No remote logins, no backup credentials. Not even her security badge would open the elevator past the lobby. But the text still came. You've got nothing. See you in court. It arrived at 5:12 p.m., less than 2 hours after the termination. That short sentence said more than she realized. It confirmed something I suspected all along. Eliza never panicked because she never expected to lose. In her mind, she was 2 steps ahead. She thought she'd laced the floor with just enough legal marbles to trip us if we pushed back. But I don't trip. I document. The next morning, a call came in from an attorney named Nathan Prescott. Downtown Chicago, number one of those crisp, expensive voices. The kind that charges $400 just to say hello. Mr. Vellon, I represent Eliza Ward regarding her recent separation from your company. She maintains that her dismissal was in retaliation for voicing internal concerns regarding the treatment of minority employees in your compliance division. There it was, the escalation. She wasn't just claiming wrongful termination, she was accusing us of discrimination. It was strategic, and I respected the tactic. These days, a single headline can fracture decades of reputation, especially for a financial firm run by an aging white man in a post-scandal industry. She wasn't just playing defense, she was threatening to burn the entire court down if we lit a match. I wasn't aware of any complaint, I said. My client assures me she raised these issues internally and followed company procedure. If those documents are not available, it's likely due to mismanagement on your end, not hers. Your client siphoned money through a shell company for nearly 2 years. She denies those allegations categorically, he said, without hesitation. In fact, she believes she uncovered the same discrepancies you're now accusing her of, and that her removal was an attempt to silence a potential whistleblower. Whistleblower, the word hit like a gavel. The moment it enters a legal proceeding, the burden of proof shifts. Suddenly, the accused has to defend themselves not only against crime, but against intent. And if the story gains traction, even a win in court can feel like a loss in public. Prescott ended the call with a casual threat. We'd prefer to settle this quietly. Of course, but if we must go public, ... double quotes, click. I didn't flinch. But I didn't relax either. Eliza had prepared for this. She didn't just embezzle, she engineered an exit strategy disguised as victimhood. I called Lynn. Send me everything. Within the hour, I had a digital folder, audit trail screenshots, flagged transaction sequences, metadata on file edits, and system access logs. But something was missing. Where's the smoking gun? I asked during our follow-up call. Isn't one, Lynn said. Not yet. We've got the shell company. The transfers, the timing. Isn't that enough? Not when the company isn't in her name. Mornvale Strategic Solutions, the ghost firm, was registered under someone named Bradley Ward. Cousin, friend, whoever he was. He wasn't a Vellon West employee. That mattered. In court, indirect evidence only gets you so far. If she claims he acted independently, Lynn said, she gets plausible deniability. We needed more. We're going to have to get creative. She added, what does that mean? It means I'm going to talk to Bradley Ward. She didn't elaborate. Lynn didn't believe in pressure. She believed in silence and questions. Sometimes, that's all it takes. A week later, she met Bradley at a coffee shop posing as a recruiter, said she was looking for small consultancy firms to help outsource financial processing for a global tech startup. He showed up, polite, a little awkward, young, and very, very forthcoming. Lynn recorded the entire conversation legally since Minnesota's a one-party consent state. Bradley admitted that Eliza had asked him to form the company, said she told him it was a client-vendor workaround, a strategy to help speed up third-party reconciliations that weren't allowed under internal policy. He used her templates to draft contracts, opened a business bank account with an initial deposit of $50 transferred in by Eliza. Then once the payments started flowing, he just assumed it was all legit. She said I was helping her department with compliance stuff, he said. In the recording, I didn't think to ask questions. That recording alone didn't prove criminal intent, but it did prove control. She orchestrated the LLC, directed the bank account setup, drafted the engagement forms. Bradley, by all appearances, was a passive actor in a production she wrote. We were close, but close doesn't hold in court. Then came her mistake. 2 weeks after termination, our cybersecurity system pinged an access attempt from a blacklisted IP. Someone had tried unsuccessfully to log into our internal client platform using an outdated credential. The login originated from a residential IP address in South Minneapolis that it traced directly to Eliza's home router. More damning than the attempt itself was what she tried to access, the exact client account that triggered the initial investigation, the one that started this entire unraveling. She's watching the same files we are, Lynn said. The irony wasn't lost on me. She couldn't let go. Criminals rarely do. Control is an addiction, especially for those who believe they're smarter than the rules. That intrusion gave us leverage. We logged the metadata, time, IP, attempted endpoints. Then we added it to our file, a digital paper trail. Eliza couldn't rewrite. Now we had the money trail, a false vendor accounter, related party admitting to her instructions, and a post-system breach tied directly to her personal network. It still wasn't courtroom, but it was enough to make Nathan Prescott pause. When we sent over the evidence summary, he didn't respond with bluster. He responded with silence. That told me everything. And yet I wasn't ready to walk away. She hadn't just stolen from our clients, she'd used our name, our credibility, to stage her defense. She'd tried to paint herself as a whistleblower, a victim, a silenced truth-teller, while holding on to every dollar she drained from portfolios designed to fund retirements and college tuition. She built a lie and wrapped it in legal armor. She forgot one thing. I don't bluff. Prescott folded, but not before trying to cut a deal. This could be resolved quietly, he said over the phone. No admission of guilt, no lawsuit, just a mutual separation and a standard severance. It was dressed up as the kind of calm solution lawyers propose when they realize their client can't win, but hope the other side doesn't know it yet. I said no. You don't hand severance checks to arsonists just because they offered to leave the house. Prescott's tone shifted. You're risking your reputation to win a fight that doesn't need to happen. But that's where he misread me. This wasn't about reputation anymore. It was about consequence. She'd stolen from our clients and then tried to bury the evidence under legal narratives. This wasn't a fight. This was cleanup. I handed the entire case to my firm's legal counsel, Evelyn Pritchard, a woman who once ran internal affairs for a federal compliance task force. She spoke softly and filed lawsuits like sharpened scalpels. We're not going to court, she said. After reviewing the evidence, we're going to the FBI. That surprised even me. You think they'll take it? Evelyn didn't blink. Wire fraud, conspiracy, computer intrusion. This isn't a civil matter anymore. She crossed a federal line. So we did it by the book. No media. No leaks. No warnings. We submitted our full forensic report minus 164 pages of logs, statements, IP traces, and metadata to the white-collar crimes unit in Minneapolis. Evelyn walked it in herself. 2 days later, Special Agent Leon Herrera reached out. We've seen cases like this, he said, but not many where the employer brings us such a complete file. I told him the same thing I'd been telling myself since it started. She didn't just steal money, she stole trust. She weaponized it. Agent Herrera requested the original logs. Evelyn provided them. He asked to speak with Bradley Ward. We arranged it. Lynn accompanied him for protection, not because we feared retaliation, but because people like Eliza often leave collateral damage behind when their walls begin to fall. 2 weeks passed, then 3. I waited, quietly. In the meantime, I rebuilt the compliance protocols that had failed us, not the systems, the human ones. We reviewed every team's access levels, rewrote escalation procedures, reassigned portfolio authorizations so no single analyst could ever again move funds without a co-signed trigger. I held a meeting with The entire firm, no names, just facts. This happened because I trusted too much and verified too little. That ends today. Some of them looked uncomfortable. A few looked relieved, but the message landed. Then, one Monday morning in mid-March, the call came. Agent Herrera, we executed a warrant this morning. Miss Ward was taken into custody at her residence. We've also recovered financial records from her apartment and laptop. It was surreal hearing those words aloud. Was she surprised? I asked. No, he said after a pause. She asked if you sent us. I didn't reply. Because in a way, I hadn't. She had. All I did was follow the trail. She tried to cover. Bradley Ward was not charged. His cooperation had been total. In fact, Agent Herrera said he seemed relieved, almost grateful. People like that don't want to be criminals, Lynn said when I called to tell her. They just want to stay close to someone who tells them what to do. Eliza's indictment was thorough. Wire fraud, money laundering, computer tampering, criminal conspiracy. It made local news in a quiet way. Small headline, bigger implications. The kind of article that other financial firms read behind closed doors. The kind that clients scan with curiosity, wondering if their money is really safe, even in places that feel airtight. And then came her defense. New attorney, public defender, this time no high-priced strategist now, just a lean, overworked legal team that knew the goal wasn't victory, it was containment. She pled guilty. 18 months in a low-security federal facility. Full restitution. 5 years supervised release. Barred from holding any finance-adjacent employment for life. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't need to. I already had what I came for, the truth. But there was one thing I did keep. One reminder of everything she tried to dismantle when the local financial press published the court summary. I framed the clipping. Not because it celebrated her fall, but because it reminded me of the one rule I used to believe, and now believe even more. Loyalty is not a trait, it's a test, and the moment you stop testing it, is the moment you lose control. Asterisk. I didn't expect her to apologize. People like Elisa don't confess to the harm they cause, not because they're incapable of guilt, but because their entire self-worth is built on the belief that they're smarter than the people they betray. But quietly, through the cracks in the system, I did hear things from Bradley. Mostly, he kept in contact with Lynn even after the case closed. Guilt changes people, and he was drowning in it. He said Eliza never once admitted what she did. Not even in private. Not even after the plea deal. She told him the company had framed her, that I was the real criminal, that the charges were political. That word stuck with me, political. It wasn't about legality anymore. In her mind it was about optics, about power, about control of the story. I don't think she believed she was innocent. I think she believed she was justified. It's a dangerous kind of person who sees theft not as crime but as correction, as if the world owes them and they're simply evening the score. In that way, Eliza didn't fall. She folded herself inward and vanished, but we didn't forget. Months passed. The firm grew quieter, more cautious. I noticed a shift in tone at meetings. People chose their words more carefully. Audits ran deeper. Even the interns triple-checked their expense forms. Some might see that as fear. I saw it as evolution. You don't build integrity through speeches. You build it through fire, and we'd been burned. That summer, I got a call from the Midwest Financial Ethics Council, a small but influential group that holds annual panels on corporate governance. They wanted me to speak, not about the crime itself, the organizer clarified. We're more interested in how you rebuilt, how you kept control. That phrase again, control, I accepted, not because I wanted to relive what happened, but because I knew others were watching. Fraud doesn't just steal money, it steals momentum. Trust leaks slowly, but it spreads like smoke. If I didn't take control of the narrative, someone else would, so I told them the truth that betrayal doesn't start in ledgers or shell companies. It starts in conversations, in unchecked praise, in unearned access, in quiet moments where someone swaps humility for entitlement, and the only way to protect your company, or yourself, is to stay awake, not paranoid, just awake. I didn't name her. I didn't need to. They all knew. After the panel, a younger CEO approached me in the hallway, mid-30s, nervous eyes. Asked if he could ask a personal question. Would you do anything differently? I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said. I would have listened to discomfort sooner. He looked confused. You mean gut instinct? No, I said. I mean the unease that people try to explain away the inconsistency in a story. The overconfidence. The way someone rushes past a mistake with a smile and a joke. That's not instinct. That's data. And if you ignore You become a willing participant, he nodded, like someone who'd just remembered a dozen meetings he should have paid more attention to. I wished him luck when I got back to the office. I found a small envelope on my desk, handwritten, no return. Addressed. Inside was a postcard, just 2 words, still watching, no signature, no context, no fingerprints. Even we checked. Was it her? Maybe, maybe not. That's the thing about people like Eliza. Even when they lose, they need to feel like they still have power, like their shadow still touches your door. But I didn't flinch because I had something she never did. Transparency. Every audit trail, every memo, every recorded call, every recovery protocol, it was all clean, documented, accountable, sure of it. That's how you fight ghosts, not with fear, but with light. Evelyn suggested we report the postcard to Agent Herrera. I declined. She's not a threat anymore, I said, just noise. But we added a line to our company protocol that week. Any anonymous correspondence targeting executive staff must be logged, digitized, and retained for 2 years. Not because we were afraid, because we were awake. A year passed. The firm didn't just recover, it redefined itself. The breach hadn't destroyed our credibility. If anything, it hardened it. Clients respected how we responded. No denials, no spin, just quiet, relentless truth. We instituted mandatory rotation policies for sensitive access roles. No one stayed in a high-privilege seat for too long. We added dual authentication for all client-side withdrawals. Our auditors now operated independently from the financial team, with their own budget and encrypted systems. I called it institutional humility, not because we made mistakes, but because we were capable of making them again if we got comfortable. It became our culture. As for Eliza, the world moved on. Her name faded from court filings and press blurbs. She served her sentence quietly, reportedly reading legal theory books while working in the prison library. Some thought she'd re-emerge, reinvent herself, join the army of disgraced consultants who become redemption speakers. But redemption requires accountability, and silence isn't the same as growth. She didn't reach out, never asked to explain, never wrote to make peace. She'd already written the ending she wanted, one where she wasn't the villain, just misunderstood. That's the second thing betrayal teaches you. Closure isn't something you get, it's something you build. We did receive one final update from Agent Herrera. An internal memo. Formal tone, no drama. Just confirmation that the last of the seized funds had been returned to client accounts, down to the dollar. That memo went straight into the archive. I keep it in a locked drawer, along with our original audit report and Lynn's handwritten meeting notes from the first day. We discovered the fraud, not to dwell on it, but to remind myself that even strong systems break when humans ignore what's right in front of them. And sometimes, it's the ones you invite to the table that steal the most. One afternoon, maybe 8 months after Eliza's sentencing, Lynn and I sat down for coffee at a quiet place on Grand Avenue. It had become a sort of ritual between us, post-mortems over espresso. She brought a folder. Not unusual, but this one had a post-it with just one word. Next I raised an eyebrow. She smiled. Another one, different state, different firm, but similar pattern. I opened the folder, glanced at the contents, wire transfers, shell entities, employee access logs. I thought we fixed this industry. I joked. She didn't laugh. We fix one person at a time, she said, but only the ones who get caught. That stuck with me. We sat in silence for a while. Then she asked something no one else had. Do you regret trusting her? It took me longer to answer than I expected. I regret giving her power without accountability, but no, I don't regret trust. Why not? Because trust is how you build anything worth defending. Without it, you just build walls. And eventually, you forget who you're protecting and who you're locking out. Lynn nodded. You ever think she'll try again? She asked. Somewhere else, probably, but not here. Not again. I looked out the window. Minnesota in spring is strange gray skies, thawing streets, tulips trying to survive one last snow, a good metaphor for the company we'd become. Resilient, awake, still growing, even through cold ground. As we finished our drinks, Lynn stood and looked at me the way only someone who's seen every lie behind the data can. Next time, she said, trust slower. I will, I said. But I'll still trust because I'd rather risk being betrayed than build a firm so paranoid it forgets how to believe in its people. And maybe, just maybe, that's what separates us from the ones who steal in silence. We're willing to keep building even after they tear it down.